Welcome back. If you just joined us, you're watching Channels Television, celebrating 21 years of professional broadcasting. This is the News at 10. A reminder of our major stories tonight. Senate rejects request by President Buhari for the approval of $29.9 billion foreign loan. Demands details of borrowing plan. President Buhari's use for peace in the Niger Delta as leaders from the region present a 16-point demand to end sabotage of oil infrastructure in the area. Court of Appeal Special Panel recuses itself from the case between two factions of the PDP in Ondo State over allegations of compromise by the party's factional state chairman. And the Nelson Mandela Foundation calls for the sack of South Africa's president, says Jacob Zuma has failed the test of leadership. Remember, all our top stories can be found on our website, channelstv.com, and on youtube.com/channelsweb. Log on to m.channelstv.com to view us live on a mobile device. You can also download the Channels TV app for Android, iOS, and Windows phones from their respective stores. Besides the news and updates, the Channels TV app is an eyewitness feature. We encourage you to use it to share those pictures, videos, or news of happenings around you. Just install the app, then tap and swipe to reveal the eyewitness menu and follow the instructions. Let's take a look at some of the pictures that you sent into Eyewitness Portal. We begin with this one, which shows the aftermath of heavy rains along Agbarajẹ Road in the Cotton area of Lagos. Eyewitness reporter calls on local council authorities to clear the blocked drains. Similar to that is this photo, which also shows blocked drains within these estates in Isheri North Local Council in Lagos State. We see these cows moving along this road in Gwarimpa area in the Federal Capital Territory. Eyewitness reporter, who was pretty stunned by this, calls on relevant agencies to end this disturbing trend. Eyewitness reporters calling on state authorities in Edo and Delta states to fix the bad portion of the Benin City bypass to Asaba. Finally is this photo, which shows traffic jam along Onyama 9th Mile corner in Enugu State. Eyewitness reporter says travelers spend several hours along this road trying to get to their destination. Thanks for sending in those pictures. Know that you too can become an eyewitness reporter for Channels Television. Back to the news now. A special panel of the Court of Appeal hearing the Ondo election appeal has recused itself from the case following allegations of bribery leveled against it by the chairman of the People's Democratic Party, Mr. B. Poroye. Chairman of the panel, Justice Hannatu Sankey, says all files connected to the Ondo State governorship appeal will be returned to the President of the Court of Appeal for reassignment. Mr. Poroye's petition followed the orders of the Federal High Court in Abuja, recognizing Jimoh Ibrahim as the candidate of the party in Ondo State. The petitioner leveled several allegations of compromise and likelihood of bias against Justice Sankey, Justice Bukochua, and other members of the panel. The candidates of the Makrafi-led faction of the party, Mr. Eyitayo Jegede, had approached the court following INEC's recognition of Mr. Jimoh Ibrahim as the PDP candidate for the election, based on the ruling by Justice Okonabang of the Federal High Court, Abuja. Mr. Poroye claims that the panel was constituted to urgently hear and determine cases because the President of the Court of Appeal had been compromised.
The proceedings was meant to be the hearing of the appeal filed by Mr. Eyitayo Jegede, seeking the leave of the court to appeal the judgment of the Federal High Court, which empowered the Independent National Electoral Commission to substitute his name for that of Mr. Jimoh Ibrahim. At the opening of the proceedings, lawyers to all the parties announced appearances, but shortly after that, the chairman of the panel announced the receipt of a petition by Mr. B. Poroye, accusing accusing the panel of likelihood of compromise and likelihood of bias in the suit. After reading some of the content of the petition, which borders on allegation of judicial corruption, Justice Sankey inquires from the lawyers if the petitioner copied them. One after the other, the lawyers disassociated themselves from the petition. With the petitioner conspicuously absent from the court, the special panel takes a break to consider their position. 30 minutes later, Justice Sankey announced that the panel has disqualified itself in the appeal and all other appeals connected to it. Lawyer to Mr. Eyitayo Jegede condemns the petition and demands the prosecution of the petitioner.
There are so many ways to obstruct the course of justice. It's not when you offer bribe alone. What happened today was that it was a deliberate attempt to obstruct the course of justice.
The lawyer representing Mr. B. Boroye, the petitioner, denounced the petition, saying he is not aware of the petition.
I categorically stated that I am not aware of that petition. And that's the truth of it. I didn't know about it. It doesn't have my imprimatur or contribution or suggestion whatsoever. So it was just so sudden that that was brought to our attention, that the petition had been written by the first respondent.
The man in the eye of the storm, Mr. Jimo Ibrahim, commends the panel for disqualifying itself.
Even apart from Boroye's petition that led to this disbandment of the panel, we have entered appeal at the Supreme Court.
Resolving the crisis over who is the true candidate of the People's Democratic Party in the November 26 governorship election in Ondo State has now been thrown back to the President of the Court of Appeal, who is expected to reconstitute a new panel.
Only peace can bring about progress and developments to the Niger Delta region, and the leaders in the area have to do that more than anyone else. These are the words of President Muhammadu Buhari, who met with Niger Delta stakeholders at the presidential villa today as part of measures to end the militancy in the rich oil region. At the end of the discussions, the leaders presented a 16-point agenda they believe will stop the violence and sabotage of oil facilities and bring about developments in the area. Some of the demands include empowering indigents through relevant trainings, adequate investment in infrastructure, cleaning up of oil spills, pulling the army out of the oil hub, relocating oil firms' headquarters to host communities, encouraging oil firms to employ more youth from the region, allocation of more funds to oil-producing states, allocation of more funds to the amnesty program. Our State House correspondent, Chukwuma Onekusi, reports.
The Niger Delta region has been described as the goose that lays the golden eggs. But years of neglect have led to the degradation of the region, and subsequent administrations in the country have done little or nothing about it. Youths in the region have come in various forms of agitation, blowing up pipelines, adding to the degradation of the region. But President Muhammadu Buhari's administration may bring a turnaround to the situation if this meeting convened here is anything to go by. For over 2 hours, traditional rulers from the region joined the president, the vice president, state governors, ministers, service chiefs, and other well-meaning citizens from the Niger Delta area to brainstorm on how to stop the constant destruction of facilities in the region. Here is how the leaders of the region tabulated their needs in the first part of the meeting.
The 16 points included generally whatever we say, infrastructure development, manpower and human resources development. And then of course you have to welfare of the people.
At the last count, over 6 militant groups have sprang up in the Niger Delta region, the latest being the Niger Delta Avengers. Reports from some of the groups indicate that they may not be part of this meeting called by the federal government, raising doubt as to full representation here.
They gave us authority as their fathers to negotiate on their behalf until the 19th of August.
Minister of State Petroleum has responsibility to ensure that Nigeria meets its quota in the oil market. According to him, following the meetings, Nigeria's production has risen to 2.1 million barrels per day.
That would not have happened without all the efforts that went behind through the royal fathers and leaders and through the militant leaders themselves. A lot of behind-the-scene engagement has taken place and will continue to take place.
It's good that we understand the issue of military presence in the Niger Delta are separate from military occupation of communities. I don't think that our elders are asking for the military to be withdrawn from the Niger Delta because that will create chaos.
No.
What they request is that military presence or military occupation of communities should not be. But the military presence will have to be there to ensure that we're able to attend to all forms of criminality.
This is just one in the series of meetings the government has designed to bring a lasting peace to the Niger Delta region. The next few weeks will determine if indeed the youths of the region have agreed to sheath their swords and let peace reign, as government says it is determined to meet the needs of the people. Chukuma Onwekusi, Channels Television News.
More news coming now from the Federal Capital Territory, where Gloria Umezuke is. Hi, Gloria.
Hello, Amarachi. The House of Representatives may debate its passage of the amendment to the Code of Conduct Act, as members are set to consider a motion seeking to reverse the decision. But this follows a point of order raised by the Majority Leader of the House, Representative Femi Gbadabiamila, in which he observed that the amendment passed by the House is in conflict with a section of the 1999 Constitution. The Speaker, however, ruled that the matter be taken as a proper motion on another day to give members notice and time to consider the issues raised.
The bill be read a second time. It's
an issue that has generated a lot of public attention, the amendment of the Code of Conduct Tribunal Act by the National Assembly. Some Nigerians have frowned at the move, especially as the Senate President, Dr. Bukola Saraki, has a case before it. Both chambers had passed the amendment, but the matter is coming up again in the House of Representatives. The Majority Leader believes that the House may have made a mistake in passing the amendment.
A couple of months ago, perhaps unbeknownst to a lot of us, almost 40 bills were presented to this House in one day that passed through the Committee of Whole. We did not pay particular attention to the contents and the clauses. But where we discover subsequently that those clauses are a major infraction of the Constitution, it behoves on us as a House, Mr. Speaker, to pull our brakes and look at the Constitution again.
But before he finished making his statement, a point of order was raised by another member.
Mr. Speaker, I think that the proper way to come so that members will actually appreciate the issues raised by the Majority Leader is by a substantive motion to enable us contribute meaningfully. I would therefore ask that the issue be stepped down and the proper course be taken by the Leader.
The Speaker then allowed the Majority Leader respond to the observation raised before he ruled on the matter.
The first thing I said on the floor of this House when I got up to speak was to ask for suspension of the rules. Number two, Mr. Speaker, the issue of constitutionality of a bill passed by this House is not something that we should treat with levity and say, oh, we've done it, we've done it.
So the point is this: nobody is saying we cannot reconsider. But let's follow the provision of the rules so that members will be fixed with notice, and then they will have ample time to reflect on the issues that you are raising before we consider it. So for us to suspend the rules to take this motion, I feel that it's going to be like an ambush situation. So it is better all of us are well informed, and then we can take the debate for decision of the decision of the House. So that is my ruling.
The motion will be considered before the harmonization of the bill by both chambers.
Still ahead on the news at 10, Nigeria's Purchasing Manufacturing Index goes back to positive territory in October as companies adjust to the economic recession. Well, that's in business news. Please join us again.